There's a grab, there's a hold, there's another grab. I mean,
all of those are
fouls. Every single one of them.
Hey, before we get into the video, be sure to enter our brand new giveaway. We'll be giving away any of these items. It's your choice. To enter the giveaway, leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, turn on notifications, and most importantly, watch the whole video. It's that simple.
The clip vividly captured a moment that fans and commentators alike had long been waiting for. The acknowledgement that Caitlin Clark was constantly subjected to fouls without appropriate calls from referees. From the outset, viewers could clearly see multiple instances of contact, grabs, holds, and physical disruptions. Each action distinctly a foul, yet each one glaringly ignored by officials until it became undeniably blatant. Repeatedly, Caitlin Clark endured aggressive plays. The commentator highlighted each incident emphatically, stating, "That's a foul. That's another foul. And yet another." Astonishingly, none of these violations initially drew a whistle. Only when the foul became so overt, Clark's arm visibly grabbed and subsequently knocked to the ground, did officials finally make a call. The frustration from this delayed reaction resonated deeply with the announcer, who described the sequence as insane and indisputable. The commentators' relief was evident as they celebrated the broadcast team's explicit acknowledgment of this ongoing issue. Specifically, they praised ABC's analysts for finally addressing the quiet part out loud. The video analysis paused at one critical juncture, clearly illustrating the aggressive defensive tactics employed against Clark, with two hands placed firmly on her chest. This physical approach, the commentator insisted, isn't proper defense. Regardless of what might be said in casual fan discussions, professional basketball rules are explicit. This type of aggressive contact is unacceptable during regular season play. Moreover, the commentator pushed back against a narrative some had tried to advance, claiming Clark was favored by referees. Players like Angel Reese had previously suggested such bias existed, but the evidence clearly showed otherwise. Far from benefiting from special treatment, Clark was demonstrably receiving fewer calls, perhaps influenced by these unfounded accusations. The commentator argued passionately that referees seemed influenced by this false narrative, deliberately withholding legitimate fouls against Clark to avoid perceptions of favoritism. The emotional reactions of both Clark and her opponents reinforced the absurdity of the situation. When fouls were occasionally called against Clark's opponents, they reacted incredulously, seemingly unable or unwilling to recognize the validity of the calls. The video closely analyzed one such reaction, highlighting the defender's apparent disbelief despite evident contact. "You just whacked her. Both your hands were on her, pressing against her. That's not defense," the commentator stressed, reinforcing the fundamental principles of fair play. ABC's broadcast team was lauded once again for bringing this issue into sharper focus, openly discussing the reality Clark faces regularly. A striking comment from Page provided further validation, acknowledging players must effectively learn to defend without fouling, a skill notably neglected in recent games. In the segment, the commentator invited viewers to listen closely to an audio clip that vividly captured the ongoing frustration. Clark, clearly aggravated by continuous, uncalled fouls, openly displayed her irritation. The broadcaster sympathetically acknowledged the legitimacy of Clark's frustrations, emphasizing the repeated and unchecked physicality she endured each game. The video made one thing abundantly clear: it's time for the league to consistently enforce fair officiating standards and adequately protect players like Caitlin Clark. Her talent deserves fair treatment, not unchecked aggression overlooked by referees. The commentator directly addressed the ongoing issues around Caitlin Clark, highlighting how severely the physicality in the WNBA restricts players' freedom of movement. Citing conversations with Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers, they revealed both players' frustration at the excessive contact permitted by referees. Buchers even openly admitted she's had to learn how to defend by actively fouling, pointing out the dramatic difference from her experience in college, where strict officiating protected freedom of movement. The commentator underscored repeatedly that Clark, in particular, faces relentless physical aggression on the court. The focus placed on her by opposing teams is extreme, often seeing double teams starting at the opposing free throw line and persisting all the way to the basket. The constant, unchecked contact is overwhelming. The commentator passionately labeled the situation as absurd, emphasizing Clark's unfair disadvantage due to the heightened attention and aggression against her. Historically, the commentator acknowledged that the WNBA once allowed such physicality because talent levels were considerably lower. Referees tolerated aggressive plays, believing it might add excitement to otherwise low-scoring games. But times have changed dramatically. Today, players like Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers showcase genuine basketball brilliance, deserving of proper officiating. The commentator urged the league to embrace fair play, mirroring the successful officiating style established by the NBA. The blueprint, they argued, is clear and straightforward. Simply follow it. By refusing to enforce proper officiating, the commentator argued, the league undermines its own product, robbing fans of watching genuine basketball talent unfold. Players like Clark should not have to endure football-like physicality. Humorously yet pointedly, the commentator illustrated their point by saying if Clark's experiences occurred in football, referees would undoubtedly throw penalty flags continuously. Illegal contact, hands to the face, pass interference, because such blatant fouls simply wouldn't be tolerated. The commentator strongly contested the narrative suggesting Caitlin Clark receives favorable officiating treatment. Contrarily, evidence clearly showed Clark enduring more physicality without receiving calls, suggesting a deliberate stance by referees influenced by false perceptions. Emphasizing their point, the commentator drew attention to specific plays demonstrating this unfair treatment. One highlighted sequence clearly showed defenders collapsing on a Clark, leading to a wide-open layup opportunity for a teammate, although the pass was ultimately mishandled. The attention Clark commands from opponents, the commentator stressed, is relentless, unlike anything faced by other players. The commentator firmly stated that the league must enforce standards consistently. Genuine talent like Caitlin Clark deserves a fair opportunity to showcase their abilities without being subjected to constant fouling. For the integrity and excitement of the game, referees must protect players' freedom of movement and allow the true brilliance of the sport to shine. The commentator openly expressed deep frustration about having to repeatedly address the unfair physicality directed at Caitlin Clark during WNBA games. Clearly relieved and appreciative that ABC's broadcast team, especially Rebecca, had finally voiced what many viewers had been observing for far too long, they passionately echoed the broadcast's straightforward statements. "This is a foul," Rebecca had said bluntly during the game, clearly exasperated. "What are we doing here? You can't just grab someone's arm." The commentator recounted their own efforts to spotlight this issue, mentioning a recent video they had created to highlight the constant fouling Clark experiences nearly every possession. But the response from some viewers had been dismissive, downplaying the situation as mere aggressive defense. You actually had people in the comments section trying to undermine the argument, the commentator noted incredulously. These critics argued aggressively that such contact was normal defensive play, claiming the commentator misunderstood basketball fundamentals entirely. Refuting these dismissive comments, the commentator humorously mocked the criticism by exaggerating their own confusion. "Oh no, what's basketball?" Sarcasm underscored their disbelief at the bold assertions from commenters confidently touting their recreational league experiences as justification for their arguments. The commentator mockingly congratulated these critics on their amateur basketball expertise, highlighting the absurdity of using casual pickup games as a reference point for professional basketball officiating standards. The commentator emphasized a significant discrepancy between how physical play is officiated in the NBA compared to the WNBA. While recognizing the importance of physicality in basketball, particularly in high-stakes playoff scenarios, the commentator strongly argued that what Caitlin Clark endures regularly far surpasses standard competitive intensity. It crossed the line into unfair play, affecting both the integrity of the game and the viewing experience. They pointedly remarked on the disparity by drawing direct comparisons to NBA stars who routinely receive protective officiating against overly aggressive defenses. Players such as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, and LeBron James are afforded appropriate officiating standards, ensuring their talents are not undermined by excessive physical play. The commentator demanded to know why Caitlin Clark was consistently denied this same level of respect and fairness from referees. Answer me that question. They challenged viewers, underscoring the glaring inconsistency. While acknowledging that constant foul calls and frequent free throws might indeed disrupt the flow and excitement of the game, the commentator maintained a strong stance. Officiating must strike a balance. Protecting skilled players like Clark from relentless and unfair contact would ultimately enhance rather than diminish the viewing experience. The current situation, they argued passionately, damages not only Caitlin Clark's ability to demonstrate her full potential, but also significantly detract from fan enjoyment and the league's overall credibility. The commentator invited viewers into the dialogue, expressing genuine interest in hearing their perspectives on the matter. Clearly committed to raising awareness and fostering a thoughtful conversation about the officiating standards and their impact on the sport, they closed their remarks by reaffirming their stance. This persistent and unresolved issue, they implied, demanded immediate attention and resolution from the league, ensuring fairness and protection for all players, especially those consistently subjected to disproportionately aggressive treatment. The commentator posed a direct question to the audience, clearly passionate about the ongoing conversation around Caitlin Clark and the relentless fouling she faces in the WNBA. Expressing evident relief and satisfaction, they pointed out how voices far more influential than their own had finally started addressing this critical issue openly and firmly. The commentator emphasized the significance of these prominent figures publicly acknowledging the situation and actively speaking out against the excessive physicality directed at Clark. Turning the conversation to the viewers, the commentator eagerly invited feedback, urging audience members to share their thoughts in the comment section. With genuine openness, they expressed a strong commitment to reading every single comment, emphasizing their interest in engaging deeply with the community's diverse viewpoints. Whether viewers agreed passionately or disagreed vehemently with the commentator's perspective, they encouraged vigorous discussion, inviting robust debate and lively interactions. In a spirited and inclusive manner, the commentator playfully suggested that these conversations might even spark friendly arguments, clearly highlighting their enthusiasm for engaging, authentic dialogue. Their call for open discourse was balanced with a warm and welcoming tone, reinforcing a commitment to maintaining an environment where everyone could comfortably express their views while thoroughly enjoying the debate. Ultimately, the commentator underscored the importance of fostering a positive atmosphere, reiterating their primary goal, to create enjoyable, meaningful interactions for all participants. With voices like Rebecca Lobo and ESPN commentators now echoing what fans have been saying for months, we've reached a turning point. Lobo, during a primetime broadcast, didn't just hint. She bluntly pointed out the missed grabs, holds, and obvious fouls against Clark, lamenting, "What are we doing?" Beyond high-profile announcers, current and former WNBA players, and even coaches are now calling out the officiating. Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White labeled the inadequate protection of Clark especially egregious after a flagrant 2 foul in a recent Connecticut Sun matchup. Fever guard Sophie Cunningham later defended Clark on national TV, asserting that refs have consistently failed to protect the league's emerging star. These condemnations became even louder when ESPN breakdowns demonstrated multiple uncalled fouls in a single possession, not once but repeatedly, on Clark. The issue isn't just individual games. It reflects a deeper, league-wide officiating crisis. A recent investigation by CBS revealed that part-time referees, those who split time with college games, are fueling inconsistency and eroding player safety. This patchwork system has left players like Aya Wilson and Clark vulnerable to rough play, which once might have been tolerated, but now seems unjustified amid the league's rapid growth. Speaking of growth, Caitlin Clark's presence isn't just altering how games are played. It's transforming the WNBA itself. Dubbed the Caitlin Clark effect, her arrival boosted game attendance and ratings dramatically, with one study estimating her influence added as much as $52 million to Iowa's economy and nearly $1 billion to the league's valuation. Books like Honor Game by Christine Brennan argue that while the league's viewership has exploded, administrative and officiating systems haven't kept pace. Clark's impact has also rippled socially, intensifying discussions on race, legacy, and gender in sports. Critics have accused the WNBA of mishandling the spotlight on Clark, with some charges of racial bias when comparing reactions to black players like Angel Reese. The Reese-Clark rivalry adds layers of complexity, placing officiating and league culture under even more intense public examination. What began as frustration over a few missed calls has grown into a systemic critique of the WNBA's officiating and structural readiness. Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise has uncovered the league's growing pains, and the chorus for reform is louder than ever. Topics of officiating standards, referee professionalism, and league accountability are now central to the debate. And with Commissioner Engelbert facing increasing pressure, the question is no longer if change will come, but when and how soon. And as this story keeps unfolding, one thing is crystal clear. Caitlin Clark's journey isn't just about one player or even one team. It's shining a spotlight on the very soul of women's basketball. The push for fair officiating, the passionate debates on social media, and the voices, both inside and outside the league, demanding change, all point to a league standing at a crossroads. What happens next won't just shape Caitlin's legacy. It could redefine the future of the WNBA itself. Will the league step up and protect its brightest stars? Can it rise to meet the moment and deliver a brand of basketball as dynamic and inspiring as the athletes themselves? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. We'll be watching every play, every call, and every milestone along the way. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to join our amazing basketball community, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Share this video if you think this conversation matters. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.